welcome to VaynerBox, where we rate your pitches. I'm Bambi Francisco. Today's topic, the new entertainment model. And with me today is Chris Toll, CEO of Topics, John Chenal, Managing Editor of Vayner, and Ezra Rosen, VaynerBox regular. Thanks, gentlemen. So today we're going to look at two companies. We're going to start with Ustream, which is a platform for long-form broadcasting.
So what Ustream.tv does is it offers an open platform for live video over the internet. And now the question is, why is that important? Really, what it comes down to is that live is the future of media. What makes live so interesting is the fact that you are able to interact. You have viewers interacting with each other as they're watching the content, and you have viewers interacting with the broadcasters, actually able to shape the content of the show. This allows live video to really participate in the overall revolution, moving from consumption of media to participation in experiences. What Ustream does is it allows anyone who wants to broadcast live interactive video over the web to a global audience. You sign up, there's no software to download, it takes less than 5 minutes to get started. We currently have over 20,000 people signed up to broadcast, doing over 20,000 hours a day worth of video.
Well, we talked about comments in the last episode. This sort of takes comments to the next level. And this is basically where we're going, interacting when you're broadcasting.
Yeah, go ahead.
We made Ustream the top newcomer company for the On Hollywood conference for All Is On. I like the direction from short form YouTube type content to longer form broadcast channels where you actually have a richer experience. Now, with all these things, there's a huge spread between things that will be popular and not so popular, and long tail and very, very highly consumed content. So I think the trick is, and at the end of the day, they are going to be a derivative of the amount of content consumed over their platform in some way, their success is. So it's going to be a matter of having some hits or having a high volume. They don't want to be stuck in the middle.
Well, I wonder whether it's going to continue to be something that is used by targeted at end users, or whether they're going to end up maybe white labeling it or something like that and selling it to someone else. I think about Now Live, which is another interactive broadcasting. They have all kind of channels. They let people broadcast. If you remember, we had their CEO, Kevin Bromber, in here, and he was saying that was the original business model. Now, turns out there's a lot more value in getting old, traditional big media companies to adopt this as their live streaming platform. So radio stations, it's a natural. There's a guy in a DJ booth. People hear his voice. So they stick a camera in there, and now people can see them. And they're selling it that way to old line media companies as a way to sort of create a web channel without having to really spend any more money on production. It's the same content.
Yeah, I think as a technology, I'm not sure that live is like. What are these guys doing to really, further the state of the art in live? Maybe it's taking a bunch of commodity products and making it easy for a radio station to put video on the net, or an events company to put the video on the net. I think that is definitely a challenge of like, whether if you're going to go to Ustream and find a bunch of live stuff, there's not much actually that live is really that important. Like movies, well, not live. TV stations only have a little bit of live stuff every day. There are some things that I'm really intensely interested in, right? If I know someone is going to be at a conference and I'm trying to like basically stalk them, it's great. If you're trying to find like your customer or your buddy and you're going, oh, there they are, that's kind of cool, but it's not really a business. The technology piece of this that I question is, hey, what is it that these, like Cisco doing this, all right, that makes sense, but what is it that Ustream is going to bring to the table in terms of something where it's hard to compete with them? And maybe it's a business thing. Maybe it's like these guys in Modulus and everybody else. Maybe it turns out that you need a bunch of little things that all have to work together. Like it's a cocktail of streaming and video and lighting and bandwidth. And maybe it's just hard to do that. It's not just a box. But that'd be my question.
But I mean, I don't think we're just talking about live. We're talking about live interactive video for everyone. And think about the most popular show, Oprah. It's interactive. I mean, you could imagine having a number of different types of Oprah shows online where you have an interactive audience where you can actually interact with the host. I think that's maybe where they're going. We used to have this thing at CNN when I worked at CNN called CNN Talkback Live. It was one show where you could actually gather an audience to actually sit there and actually interact with the anchor.
I'm down on that. Actually, let me just say, I just think that it's like everybody who I talk to in media always wants live chat. It's the worst thing ever because live chat doesn't work. None of that stuff ever has mattered. Like if that was such a big deal, like seeing all that stuff you're talking about, and Always On has the back channel. there's always like this random crap that never gets saved, it's never used, and no one ever, there's not
And why
mass
are they the most
participation.
popular shows? I mean, granted, they're not news shows or maybe
Well, they have a big
shows.
audience, so they draw a lot of people. I would agree with part of what Chris just said, which is that when you see a lot of those comments in the live, chat, it helps build the audience and stuff like that. But a lot of times it's not really germane to the actual live broadcast, and so it's really almost a separate piece of content. And if it doesn't have a lot of quality, or if it doesn't have a lot of shelf life, the question is, if you're doing it and spending money, how do you monetize it?
It actually comes down to the model is broken because it's a one-to-many model. The problem is that Ustream is basically one guy or one set of people or one event being broadcast, and you've got 1,000 people talking back to it. But the conversations about that stuff are kind of weird. It's not. It just no one's cracked that yet and made something that's really interesting and something which is getting a lot of regular usage to be like the community of Ustream people get on every night at 7 and do it live. Like no one's so far done that. It's always been one-off events.
Outside of the chat stuff, I think that the question of where there are business models, so like YouTube, zillions of things, easy to upload, short, lots of people, you get zillions of clicks because it's just a huge database. It's sort of the default for lots and lots of applications, but not really that engaging and not really a place where people go for long form. TV, long form, it's a limited options and it's what's on, so it's you don't have a lot of options. What's on ABC and CBS, there aren't that many, an infinite number of channels on your TV. If this is going to be sort of in the middle, can they get enough viewers for people who want to watch the church service, who want to watch the Little League game, who want to watch the lecture, who want to watch the conference?
It would be like C-SPANs for all the different
It's basically
pieces of your life.
C-SPANs, but writ for everything. So I think the trick is, are there enough of those mid-tailish audiences to create a lot of volume where they can now monetize that in a meaningful way?
Yeah, I mean the one thing I would say about Now Live, they have shows same time every day, so they do have that. It's sort of a community feel where people show up and do the same thing. Again, the question is, how do you sell advertising against that, and what kind of CPMs would there be? It's a way to build audience, but then how do you tap into that audience and monetize it?
Barely monetized video these days, so live is going to be interesting.
Yeah, if you can't monetize video, how are you going to monetize live chat
and
next
chat
to video?
and interactive. Okay, lots of questions around this company. Let's move on to the next one. Le Gourmet TV, which is obvious, I guess, by the sound of it, the name. It's a site for
foodies.
It's Canadian Startup Day here at Vader TV.
Are they both from Canada?
The last two.
Well, that was the common theme. Okay.
Abbey beer in Belgium is a beer where the Abbey has licensed their name to another brewery, and they bottle the beer. It's got a cork. It's re-fermented in the bottle. That wasn't supposed to happen, but obviously it did.
That was the whole pitch?
I mean, it's amazing. I don't know how many people subscribe to Food and Wine magazine, or how many people watch the Bravo channel and the Food channel, but a lot of people, there's money to be made in focusing on this type of in this industry.
I think there's money to be made, and it's very how-to is very popular. So if there's ways to how-to things, there's content, and there's a lot of transient viewers and people who are into how-to videos, eHow, and lots of other folks who basically are how to make a certain kind of dessert or something. I think that if it's just a magazine show around content, around food, I think it's going to be trickier to get people to, again, you got to get a lot of people to want to watch that magazine.
Yeah, I guess I'll take a contrarian view here. I think that this is the exact kind of, if I were going to do a startup to make money, I'd do something like this, because basically this is a nice tried and true, this is a flip to end all flips. Basically you go on there, you get 100,000 people to become regular downloaders of your content. The advertising is obvious. You go, once you get to a certain number of people, there's no problem selling advertising, as opposed to all the new stuff out there, as opposed to all of this user-generated content. You basically say, these are people who are interested and engaged about food. And you go to food people and they advertise, and they actually will advertise, and you can see how to promote it. You get a bunch of bloggers on there. You do like you can do a little mini Huffington Post around this. The video is like you create quality video on this. This is not really an internet model per se. This is basically a magazine model where it's on the internet.
Right.
If you glom on a Web 2.0 model on top of it and get people to interact, it's even better. But this strikes me as something that, with a very reasonable amount of money, in 3 to 5 years, you can get to something that sells for tens of millions of dollars with a small, it's $2 million of investment, $3 million of investment. It sells for $10 to $20 million in 3 years, and then these guys go on to the next thing. This is like New York startup as opposed to Silicon Valley startup.
Right. It's narrowcasting, it's niche publishing, basically.
Yeah.
It's what worked in other medium, which is targeted audience, that brand advertisers.
Yeah.
The one thing that brand advertisers worry about on YouTube or on any Web 2.0 thing is, where the hell is my ad going to pop up next to? What kind of content is going to be there? Here, it's
food.
You're a cheese company, you're a wine company,
You know what it is.
you're selling olive oil or whatever. You know that the people are interested in it,
And they're
you know what the
producing it
audience
themselves.
is. And it tends to be a more affluent audience.
I think the trick, though, is you're going to have to do it on your own. I think you're going to have a tough time raising $3 million from institutional VCs for this kind of business.
Oh, nobody
You
would.
can raise a few $100K, maybe from friends and family, to get off the ground, and I think it's possible to have the outcomes Chris discusses. I think you have a tough time raising straight venture.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking this is the other thing is there's a role at play here. So you go, ooh, and you find these guys and the 10 other people who do, like, it's the hardware channel, the gourmet food channel, the sewing channel, and you put 5 of those together, and then you've got a network. And it's a thing where I actually think if you go look at Glam or go look at Gawker or go look at other things, I do think that getting to audience is the hard part. I mean, if you've got this stuff, connecting to an audience will be the thing which success or failure is that. I think that getting money for this, that would not be my biggest
Getting money for this,
issue.
if they had a vision of being sort of the Glam or the Yardbarker for food, I think they could probably.
But those
pull
aren't
it off.
content businesses. The Glam or the Yardbarker, those are ad
Those
networks.
are ad network
What they're
businesses.
selling is the fact they got great sales guys, not that they're driving huge audience. That's what they're selling to
Right.
the publishers. So it just
Right.
depends what your business
Or
is.
that they're good at producing.
If there were
production.
10 of these that already had audiences, and you could create the next, Lifetime channel or lifestyle channel, then great. But what you're investing then is already formed audiences and already formed products.
So distribution deals are going to be a big part of this. And on the other hand, the cost to produce this kind of stuff, it's opposed to going off and doing, like, for example, a big budget fiction show. Having a camera on a guy cooking a risotto, probably pretty cheap. And in fact, what I might do there is to do the Huffington Post on this is get a bunch of people to do it for free.
Right.
And all you got to do, you set up the studio, and then you get people to come in and talk for free about a subject. And
wait a second, am I being used as a content ploy?
And I'm thinking that like, and people actually want to watch cooking shows as opposed to people blabbing about technology. So it's one of those things, right?
Or blabbing about cooking shows.
It's like the meta show about cooking.
And I would agree that about that. That's my point, though. Back to the original point, is that I think if you do a few $100K and you get it started and you build your audience, then you can. There's actually a great return there for the entrepreneur. It's not venture stuff, but it's like a really cool business if it's something you're passionate about.
All right. So this is kind of tough to say. Which company would you bet on? Ustream or this company? They're
this
kind of
company.
totally
No question in my
these
mind.
guys.
It's like Ustream.
No, I'm a contrarian there. I'm a contrarian with the wise men here. I'm going to go with Ustream because I actually think there's an interesting possible model there that could be big.
Who are customers going to be in that model?
Customers are going to be all the regional, topical people interested in a very specific niche kind of content that some Ustream publishers publish.
Do you have a name in mind?
I would say it's going to be I bet you this is big in faith. If you had a very popular church, for example, I think, and there was a Tim Keller, who's a very popular Presbyterian pastor in New York. If you could basically distribute Tim Keller's sermon every Sunday, there's a lot of Presbyterians who would watch that.
Make a compelling case. What's your case for this
Seems
company?
to me the money there would be with Tim Keller, though, and the production company, rather than just the person. who's
You can make money
streaming it.
making some money distributing over it, maybe the platform. You got to make money on the platform.
Yeah, I guess I don't see any difference between, like, they already do that. In other words, I don't think you need Ustream to provide. If I go look for on Sunday TV, on my Sunday in my 500 channels of cable, there are 20 channels of services, and there are people. They put a TV camera there, and they film it. Right. And then if they want to put it on the internet, they put it on the internet. Right. It doesn't need the Ustream is not a required component of that. There's nothing complicated about doing that. I think that's the real issue with that. As far as my case about Lego Gourmet TV, it comes down to, wow, compelling content, obvious advertising potential. The only issue is gaining audience. But this is one where if they came to me with a distribution story, I actually would say, yeah, that's the more likely success story.
Although they need a better pitch because the content that they showed there was not that compelling.
That was a
Yeah,
show,
that's
not a
the key to
pitch.
it.
That was clearly just one of those guys.
It
doing
really
one of the
depends
shows.
on Glenn Powell and his vision for the company.
Sure.
That's,
Good luck,
that's
Glenn.
my 2 cents. It would depend on where he plans on taking Lego Gourmet TV, because he could just be doing this for fun. If he's just doing it for fun, you wouldn't really want to bet on him. Or maybe you would, but I'd probably bet
Well, it depends on
the other company.
what amount of money and what you think the return's going to be. I don't think this is not a $1 billion business. I mean, to your point, like Ustream, and like if you squint hard enough and they succeeded beyond all possibilities, it is an infrastructure play, so there is the conceivable large amount of money there. This is probably at top end a more of the couple tens of millions, nice exit, get sold to the Food Channel. It's good.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sure that's what they want. Great. Well, second time that the three of you disagreed. Well, Ezra, you disagreed with the two of them, so interesting. But
that's because we're in the internet business and Ezra's an investment banker.
And
all I do is try to move money around.
Right.
I can't move any money for those guys.
That's right.
Yeah, you could sell this one to
On
the
the
Food
back end,
Channel.
sure. That'd be great. Actually, that'd be a great
And let me
idea.
guess, you like both of them.
I do.
They're all in Vader.
I told you that it really depends on their vision.
Yeah.
So, okay, there you have it. Well, that's it for this week's VaderBox. Chris Tolles from Topics, CEO of Topics, thank you so much for your insight. Again, John Chenal, Managing Editor of Vader, thanks again. And Ezra Roizen, VaderBox regular, digital media investment banker, thank you once again. So you're watching this episode of VaderBox where we're looking at the new entertainment model. I'm Bambi Francisco, and we'll see you next time on Vader TV.